about engagement, employee engagement, and leadership with two experts in that area. Guys, you'll be talking about it later, Cathy. China, you touched on many of these themes this morning in your keynote as well. So let's start really simply with just a general question. What the heck do we mean when we talk about engagement inside an organization?
Well, to me, engagement means there is a connection. And so you're looking for the employees to be connected to the organization in a couple different ways. You know, connected to their jobs, connected to the strategy of the company, and they can be connected to their team, and they get connected to their managers. And so it's a connection, and I believe it's a two-part connection. I believe you can have their hearts, which is an emotional connection, and you can have their minds, which is that, you know, the more rational type connection. And so I think we as companies and managers have to look at both sides of that equation, both their hearts and their minds. And companies that get it, like you talked about this morning, Zappos, we know that that company has their hearts and minds, and you gave some great examples this morning.
I think you're exactly right. It's about being connected, and to the strategy. I like how you said it, to the job, the strategy, the team, the manager. I would say that there's another piece and it goes to the heart piece. It's the mission.
Yep.
It's a connection to the customers, but it's a real sort of strong and palpable thing. Even if we moved them into a different job, the connection to the customers, the connection to the mission would still be there.
Correct.
Is there one aspect of it, would you say, is more important than another? You mentioned the hearts and the minds, right? And there's two different sort of levels of engagement or types of engagement. Is one more important than the other, or do they both really need to be present for high-functioning, happy employees, successful companies?
I think if you read the research on it, the big consulting firms, they really are emphasizing these days the heart connection, because employees are intrinsically motivated. So they have to kind of show up with the willingness to be connected. And the more of their heart there you have, the less chance you have of losing them. So my personal opinion is the heart.
Yeah, I think that's right. When I think about the times when I've been most in alignment with my organization, whether I was in a leadership job or years ago when I wasn't in leadership yet, that heart connection to the mission of the work, the meaning of the work, always made my mind go better.
Yes.
My productivity was better, my efficiency was better, my innovation was wilder and more sort of on point. So I think if you capture the heart, the mind follows. And I would say that probably lots of organizations get it backwards. They try to be rational about it. They try to lay out the points and the milestones and the quantification and the metrics and stuff, and figure that the heart part will happen by accident or something. I don't know.
I agree with you. I agree. I see that a lot.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes though in organizations, right? Like, let's say that's an easier sell to make maybe when the mission of the organization has got some sort of intrinsic value to it, like you're in healthcare or you're sort of doing environmental work or something like that. What if you're sort of in a B2B widget manufacturing kind of company, right? I mean, it's got to be hard to rally around that sometimes, don't you think?
I do think it is, but I think it's a that the message is presented to the troops. We've got a client down in Lower Alabama. He makes aluminum, but as soon as he gets up and tells the story of those manufacturing plants, I wanted to go work there. So it was in the delivery of the message and how he gets the heart and he makes aluminum.
Right.
And I think that gets translated most effectively by leadership behavior.
Yes.
While I was at SHRM in 2009, we had sort of a contest, and we called it the SHRM Economic Stimulus Prize. And we had HR people in all kinds of organizations all over the country, like 200, send in stories of innovation and how HR was really making a difference. And I remember one in particular, a very small family-owned business called Gorman Manufacturing. Less than 200 employees, maybe even less than 100 employees, who were really, going through some tough times, but because the leadership was there, they still, handed out the paychecks every week. And when they asked their employees to make sacrifices, they made the same sacrifices. And so when they hit tough times, rather than lay people off, they did this really elaborate kind of rotating furlough kind of thing. They didn't lose an employee. And what they saw was, because it came right from the top, some managers took some of the furlough weeks for some of their employees because sick, or they knew their wife just got out of the hospital and wasn't working, and a reduction in cash flow was going to severely hamper the family. That kind of caring at the top for their employees almost makes it so it doesn't matter what business you're in.
Right.
Right, because that can transcend industry,
Absolutely.
region, right? It doesn't matter what
Absolutely.
you're doing.